Okay, update on uranium here on April 23rd after market close. So this is a Friday, so we do have a complete weekly candle. Rough week for the markets in general, and uranium is certainly no exception. If anything, it's going to get dragged down even more. Let's start with the weekly chart really quickly. So I'll zoom in here. So, the previous week, so that was the week of April 11th, we poked up this week. We came down, made a swing high. So once we went below 30, oh, not, well, actually, the low here is 29.88. Once we went below that 29.88 level, thereabouts, we have our weekly swing high, making this most likely our ICH, which stands for intermediate cycle high, also called your weekly cycle high. The point there is we rallied here for 11 weeks. We have now begun our decline. Notice the last several cycles, last one was 23, 18, 24, 19, 15. So this was week 12. So we probably have at least another few weeks of downside at a very minimum. And if you zoom into the daily chart, important, we are due for a bounce here, right? Because we're on day 26. Notice the daily cycles tend to be in the 25 to 30-ish day range, in that neighborhood. And so you would expect a bounce soon. And so if you kind of imagine that, let's say we get a bounce next week, and then we get another daily cycle that's almost 30 days, that takes you to your, ICL, the middle of June. That would be a little before the broader market. And I think that's the sort of bigger point here, is that I'll go to QQQ really quick. This is like a lead stone driving everything down. I mean, look at this. We're on day 28 for QQQ for the daily, and on the weekly, we're actually on week 5. Our swing high was week 2, or excuse me, yeah, that's right, week 2. And so we have another probably 15 weeks until the low for the QQQ. I'm thinking, some point in maybe July. And so assuming we have a 20 week cycle, which obviously it could go longer, but yeah, well, actually for QQQ, it's probably August. I'm thinking SPY is probably sometime in July. But you can imagine, with that kind of downward pressure on the indices, you're gonna have a similar kind of pressure on uranium. And I'll finally go to the monthly chart. Important to see what's kind of shaping up here. This is a very ugly looking monthly candle, very sort of concerning. And look how far above the 10-month moving average we are. That's what this line is here. So definitely a lot of room to pull back. The other thing to keep in mind is that you see this major low here that was set in March 2020. That was your sort of your COVID crash. We are now, I think, 25. Right, we're exactly 25. So this is month 25 from that rally, right? And think about the idea of a potential 3-year cycle. That would be 36 months. So we do have to be cognizant of the fact that this could be a larger cycle top to maybe the 3-year cycle, right? Maybe we're getting uh, a top on month 25 for the 36-month cycle. So this could be a much larger top. At this point, that is just speculation. But what we do know is it's almost certain that we are moving into an ICL, and so we'll kind of take it one cycle at a time. But important to understand the bigger implications. And just a quick spin around the block for uranium, you can see it's pretty bearish in general. These are all monthly charts. You can see a lot of these look like they want to go bearish outside month, which would mean, for instance, in this case, for URA, that would mean going all the way down to 22, 29. Now, the month is about to end next week, so we may run out of time on these. And so you could easily see a continuation, right? That, we get a continued move lower in May to kind of finish off. And all of these have a very sort of similar look to them. The thing to keep in mind is we are close to a daily cycle low, which is true for the market as a whole. And so we probably get a bounce before we go any lower at this point. And so that's important to keep in mind, that don't get sort of sucked in by the bounce. I mean, you can certainly trade it. you just need to be cognizant of, and just be very vigilant for that swing high. This is going to be a dicey market. I do think the broader market continues to go down until July, maybe even August, and that's going to put pressure on really all risk assets, especially something like uranium that's very speculative.